do. I think I do. I have mic 1 and 2 turned up. Mic check. Mic check.
Hello. Hello.
I think you're on.
I don't think I... Maybe I am. Okay.
I don't know if I'm on, though. Wait. No, I am on. Alright. Well, hey. This is the courtesy flush. This is the first... Maybe not the first solo... Or, not solo. The first, Sans mic courtesy flush. But there might have been a...
Well, when you and Mike went to Japan, me and Kevin ran it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So the first Sans mic, but with Michael, who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. I'm just gonna double check Twitch from my phone just to make sure that my audio is on, and not like blasting people. No, that's an ad. Okay, but I heard it. I heard myself for a second, so we're gonna assume we're good. Okay, cool. Bye, phone. So, oh yeah, look at the camera, Michael. Look directly into the camera because that's who you're looking at. That's who you're talking to right now. You're talking to that camera. Hi.
Hello.
Hey. So what are we doing? What are we doing? Nick? What are we doing? What am I doing?
We are having a problem because apparently what we chose doesn't want to load, and I don't know why, and so I have to fight with that later. So
okay. All right. Well,
do you want longer or shorter?
I just want coal. I want coal.
Okay.
I want coal.
Then what we will do...
Hear like a little bit of a whine. I wonder what that is. That's the PC.
Okay. So anyways, I should probably start talking. Okay, so we are playing a train simulator. My train simulator. It's Dovetail Works is the name of the company that produces this content. I have spent quite a bit of time and money on this, although not as much lately, because for those of you either just finding out about us or something, I had a laptop that was not as good as anymore, and I finally upgraded my computer, so now it can actually run this fairly well.
Okay. So ballpark, and include the amount of money you spent on the computer. How much money have you spent on this game?
Well, I don't know if it's fair to include the computer because I bought that for other things as well, other games.
All right, then
but
a fraction
of the game itself on Steam, I have probably, I was just looking at this today, probably a couple $100.
Couple $100? All right.
At least. So.
All right. Translated into tutoring, that's like 2 weeks worth, maybe.
Maybe a little bit less, probably. Depends on where exactly I ended up on how much, couple hundred, how many hundreds of dollars I spent. I don't think more than 2 weeks, but
okay,
definitely a solid week and a half.
And then ballpark, how much time has been put into this game?
I was just looking at this the other day. I think I have 370 on Portal 2 hours.
370 hours on Portal 2.
Are you
because just replaying through the game?
No, because they have the workshop stuff.
Okay.
And although I've been playing, and I've been replaying through some of those recently because that was the first thing. Portal was the first thing that I wanted to play with my brand new high-tech computer. I decided, you know what I want to do? I want to play Portal.
Yeah. It looks sweet.
I want to say, if I can find it really quick.
370 hours. So I bet you have a good idea.
Oh my.
Now let's play a little game of over under. All right. 700.
Almost right on the nose. It was 708 is what it said. I am a little bit shocked, but not entirely. Because like when I first got Steam, it was the I think I bought it, like I got downloaded Steam the first time.
Okay.
Because they were offering like Portal for free one weekend.
Yeah.
And I had heard about it, and it's like, okay, if nothing else, I can get Steam, get the game, and just have it for later. And then I did Portal 2 and this, and that was the only things that I had on Steam for probably at least a year.
How much like, so when I'm playing this, when you're playing this, how much attention is demanded during the time that you're playing? I'm about to find out, but I imagine it's like, aren't there long stretches of just like going 60 miles an hour?
It depends on where you are. Like we're going to be playing, we're going to drop you off into the Norfolk Southern Coal District, which I think, if I'm remembering correctly, is like southern Pennsylvania, West Virginia area.
Okay.
And that's probably a little bit more twisty and turny, but probably also not as fast. But it might, like, because of the twisty and turny, speed might go up and down.
Okay.
If you were, I don't know if they have anything, because there's the exciting bits, and then there's the going across, like, you know, Arizona, New Mexico, that it's just like flat, mostly straight, and you know, just kind of set the throttle and lean back for a while.
Because I mean, it's like, there's that game where it's like Tour Bus Simulator, and it's literally driving the estimated amount of time that would take to get from like Southern California to northern, or like across the desert, and it's literally just driving a straight line. But if you don't pay attention, the bus will like veer off the road and get stuck. And so you just have to kind of like keep it straight for about 16 hours. But this is a train. You don't exactly steer.
No, but you do have to throttle brake.
Okay.
Speed restrictions, or like, so varying the speed limit basically. Right. And it's one of those things that, like, so there are times definitely that, like, I would listen to a podcast a lot when I was playing this, just because, one, that would get you fired from a real railroad, because you're not allowed to have electronic devices in the cab.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Like, our engineer down at the Roundhouse says, like, you know, if the FRA decided to come down and visit us and they found a cell phone in the cab, not even his cell phone, a cell phone in the cab, he's getting fined $10,000.
Jeez.
Well, because there was a bad wreck.
Yeah.
2008, something like that, that was caused in part because an engineer was texting and ran a red light and crashed and head-on collision with a freight train.
Jeez.
And the problem was he was in a commuter train, so lots of people got hurt.
Died, yeah. Died.
Yeah, so it's...
I imagine it's just terrible being in a train wreck. I imagine that's like one of the scariest,
it's
not fun times, unless you're Bruce Willis, in which case you're unbreakable.
You're Bruce Willis at that point. But it's... I get, even doing the stuff around that I do, like, and that's at low speed, in a yard, probably the worst thing that's going to happen is we're going to end up on the ground, but there are serious physics involved.
Yeah, no, it's like, anything big moving slowly is still a terrible force. Now, so it's only one person driving. They don't have like co-engineers, do they?
For the most part, no. There's usually two people in the cab. There's an engineer, he's the one actually driving, and you have a conductor who's kind of in charge of paperwork and telling the engineer where he should be going, although he probably more or less knows where he's going, but technically the conductor is in charge.
Gotcha.
They don't have as much manned helpers anymore, but there are places even still, and especially back in the day, that if you were running a big heavy train and all of a sudden came to a mountain, the plan was you hooked up a couple engines either up front extra or in the behind extra, possibly both, and sometimes depending on where you were and how that worked, like they may be like those engines may be operated by an independent engineer. And they also, like, especially back in the steam era, like diesels, it's really easy. You hook them all together with the MU cables, which is basically like it just links up all the controls.
Now you have like the master diesel and the slave diesels, and
basically in the steam era, if you had a separate steam engine, it needed its own crew because there was no interconnectability.
And you probably needed some coordination because it's like...
especially because it was also pre-radio.
Yeah.
Like, as in, you cannot talk to the people in the other engines.
It's got to be kind of nerve-wracking. But it's like, I'm also thinking, like, if you have two steam engines, like, in front of each other, linked up, like... How do you get it? How do you combine their pool? Because do they just have to feed at kind of the same rate, or just like max what? Because all I imagine is like one isn't pulling as much as the other, and so now the one behind it is pushing and pulling. I don't know. Maybe like
you'd have. It's going to be still pulling. Like it's not going to be going well enough to start pushing the other engine if you have any sort of throttle.
Gotcha.
But it's still a matter of you have to kind of get a feel for what you know the railroad to be and what you know the engine is capable of and all of this other stuff. And it's definitely a dance.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let's get into it, huh?
Okay.
All right. Let's get where's the Strem?
Okay.
There we go. We're in Strem view. And this is our scenario selection.
Okay, so the one you had kind of picked out, unfortunately, it decided to not want to load. So I'm going to drop you into something else that hopefully will not be terrible to see out of. You are going to need a mouse.
Okay, I got
and
a mouse.
Keyboard.
All right, and there's the keyboard. Okay.
And we'll just start. Well, I'll start trying to coach you through it as it loads up here.
See if I'll level the PC with us. Turn us down just a little bit.
Yeah, it'll probably start being loud once it loads, which hopefully it loads.
We'll see. Oh hey, all right. I feel like I've driven past this before. Probably not. I'm familiar with like the northern Pennsylvania, but this is like southern Pennsylvania. I mean, it's immersive. Have you ever played this game through somebody before? Like
No.
Okay. Well,
because my grandpa doesn't do computers, and he probably wouldn't be that into this, and none of my friends are this crazy.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Hi, engineer. The train is yours. Well, here I go. I'm going to take this train and... Oh, wait. I have a job to do. You're clear to take these empty units to Bailey Mine, where they can be filled with coal for transport. You are clear to proceed. All right. Well, click. Okay. Cleared. So there's a guy right there.
Hit 9 for me, really? Okay. Hit click on that same button, that showcast. Okay, so that's where we're trying to go to. Hit semicolon. No, I thought this was supposed to be going forward.
So I'm supposed to be going there. That's where I am. Transfer to that train, or do I have to? Like, is there any part of that where it's like I can go to the other train and back them up or something?
I don't know.
Alright. looks like... What's that thing that looks like a phone on the right side? Request the pass signal at danger approved. Can you just like slowly nudge up and push him backwards? I feel like that's bad. Like you don't do that.
Very much
Yeah, so I think you just... Yeah. Okay.
What you're gonna do, so this is the HUD. This makes kind of things easy within reach. Otherwise, you can, pan around and grab the actual controls.
Right.
But what you're gonna do is you're gonna, so of those 3 levers.
Yes.
Okay. First one is the throttle.
Throttle.
Okay. Second one is the reverser.
Reverser.
Okay. Third one is the brake, and there's 3 different brake modes on a diesel locomotive like this.
Okay.
So that top one that's selected right now, that's the train brake.
Train brake.
Then there's also the locomotive brake or independent brake.
Okay.
And then there's a dynamic brake. The dynamic brake is basically you run the traction motors backwards and it just puts it through a resistor grid that you can slow down without using the brakes, which is useful on long roads. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to drag that brake lever down. Okay, so you're going to release the brake, and you're going to give it a minute to release. You're going to put the reverser to... Oops.
So I'll have to
request that again. Oops. Nope.
Emergency.
Yeah, little movements.
Okay.
And also... So go ahead and hit F1. Okay, hit that call button again.
Press the pass again.
Approved. Okay, go ahead and fully release your brakes.
Release.
And we're going to slowly increase the throttle. That should be
What's this 100 here?
So that's your reverser. That's saying you're in forward mode as opposed to reverse. I think this is going to end badly here. Yep, that ended badly. I don't think he was supposed to really be there.
Alright.
But anyways, so we're past.
Okay.
So
That wasn't too bad.
either using the throttle on the HUD or it's AD on the keyboard, you can kind of start playing with your throttle a little bit. So just to the left of the throttle, you'll notice there's your speedometer.
Alright, now
The
you don't
top-
go over.
Correct. 25 is the speed limit, and
Is that
is
another fucking train in my way?
Yeah, but there's a siding here. If you notice the switch.
Oh, okay. Do I have to do anything?
No, it should be lined correctly. Usually, unless they say something, switches tend to be lined before.
Okay. So, go in. Okay. Alright. This one's waiting to...
Basically.
Dancing with the devil.
Okay. If you want to hit F. Okay, so other things to note in this view. One is you notice there's the kind of mapish thing down below.
This?
Yeah. That's showing basically the line ahead a little bit, like as far as upcoming things. So notice we have a signal in a little bit less than half a mile.
Okay.
You're going to want to approach that slowly on the off chance that it's another red.
Okay.
You'll also see upcoming speed changes there as well. Like down below, like if there are any. So right now we seem to be in 25 mile an hour for at least a bit. Spacebar is your horn if you feel like blowing for whistles for crossings.
Oh, there's a crossing there?
Yeah. This one doesn't penalize you, I don't think, for not blowing, even though you're supposed to in America. The game company itself is from Britain, which leads to, I think, a couple misunderstandings at times. I know one game I played, so now notice you're hitting 25 miles an hour, so you gotta be aware of that.
Well, it's like I can't, because the throttle is just always adding.
Well, so in an American diesel locomotive, it's 8 notches. Okay. So you have 0, which is off, and then you have notch 1, 2, etc. through 8. 8 being full power. So you're going in basically 8ths of engine output.
What was that color? Should I have been going slow now?
Since it didn't yell at you for blowing a red signal, I'm going to assume that it was okay. So that's something you should be paying attention to.
Should be looking for that.
Yeah. Just like driving a car, if not worse. Because again, you're not stopping too quickly. Also, I don't know if you can really see it. Lower left is the little line drawing thing. You see where it has the percent? That is your grade.
My grade.
Yes. So that's telling you how big of a hill are you on at the moment. Right now we're at 1%, which is a little bit steep, but not terrible. That's, I mean, for all the mountains we're surrounded by at the moment, we're kind of just in the rolling hills.
As far as Pennsylvania goes, yeah. And if you feel like looking around a little bit, there's some alternative camera views. If you hit 2, that's outside the engine, and you can right-click to kind of drag yourself around. You can also zoom in and out. I think you have to use the arrow key on the keyboard to zoom in as well. Yeah, there we go. I like the dynamic audio. I think that's pretty neat.
If you hit 3, that's going to be the rear of your train. If that's important for something that I don't know, this one has any switching, but that could be important. If you hit shift, if you hold down the shift key and hit 2, that is your head out the cab window. On a diesel, not that big of a deal. On a steam locomotive, big deal. Oh yeah, forward visibility on a steam locomotive is atrocious. Because of all the steam? No, because the boiler is between you and front. Like, if you ever paid attention to a steam locomotive, you'll notice that there's the big round thing that has all the steam and water in it. And then the cab. And there's just a little itty bitty window alongside that. So, there's that. If you hit 4,
this is my train to come in view.
Basically, there's a track side view. If you so want to, but probably, especially on a diesel like this, 1 is where you mostly want to be, especially as we start approaching the signal here. So signals, I'll try to keep an eye on this one. Oh, also noticing the W there, that stands for whistle, horn, in this modern age, means we're coming to a crossing.
What's the W?
You just passed it. It was a little sign.
Was it a sign on the...
Like, it was a sign along the track.
Okay.
So that sign is like a quarter mile away. And if you want to get really proper about it, the crossing signal is 1 long, a short, and then 2 longs. So... Coming up to the signal, okay, the most important thing to look at is the top one. If there's more than one light, you want to look at the top one first. Okay. Red means stop.
Yeah.
Green means, green means go, basically yellow means caution. There's a little bit of thing with this, so notice you're getting points to difficulty because you're speeding. Okay, so you're...
Okay,
so that's green. Okay, so we're good to go.
Okay.
So railroads are sectioned off into what are called blocks. Okay. And what green means is that the section you are coming to, about to enter into is clear, and the next one beyond that is clear as well. Yellow means that the block you're about to enter into is clear, but the next block is occupied, so you need to...
It's a big penalty for time distance.
Yes. You are... Now, granted, we are on a freight railroad in coal country. I think the schedule is more of a suggestion than anything else. And remember, if you're getting confused by the brake keys, you can also grab the lever as well. So we're in coal country. Schedule is probably more of a suggestion than anything else, but you know what the heck.
I feel like, is it actually like how you get up to a speed, and then you just have to ease off the throttle, and then you have to throw it back on, and you have to ease on, like...
Oh yeah, especially, like, here, if you notice, like, if you start looking at the, like, elevation map below us, you notice it's starting, like, it goes up and down. So we are about to crest a little bit of a hill here, and you're going to start rolling downhill, which means you're probably going to want to start thinking about easing off the throttle.
You know what, I'll get aim for 24. See what happens. I thought I'd be able to, like, just enjoy the scenery a lot, but so far I'm just watching my speed.
Hit the B button, by the way.
The B?
Yeah. Oh, that should be done. Okay, see where the green bell is at the moment?
Yeah.
Click that. Okay.
How'd that get turned on?
Obviously you... Oh, I wonder if you have to do Shift B to turn it off. I thought B was better.
B does the B. Okay.
Okay.
Alright. Check out that Doppler. Go throttle. Not up. Jeez, okay. Maybe just one notch. Nope.
Okay. You might want to hit back to cab view because we're about to hit a signal and we want to make sure that we continue to have a green. Okay, so like I said, the top one is the most important one. If you have two on top of each other like this, or sometimes even more if you're in, depending on what line you're on, that starts telling you things about how switches are possibly set in front of you. Okay, so if we were coming the other way and we were going to duck into the siding, okay, we might have a red on top that says that we need to slow down for siding, but then we might have a green below it that says that the siding is clear. Again, a lot of these systems were laid before radio communication was developed. So those signals and how they were laid out were important for giving the tank crew information about how they were being run.
See, we're having a party up here, and our neighbor's just like, well, we can't let that stand. We got a party twice as hard. They're gonna go nuts, they're gonna watch The Office, they're gonna drink some cinema, but we're gonna have more fun. We're gonna have fun. I'm actually having fun. I really am. This is kind of cool. I have an appreciation for, I've been thinking of, like, just getting, like, a truck simulator, a bus simulator, because I do have kind of a fantasy of just long travel, like, just driving, and, like, trains, just similar. It's like you just get to enjoy the landscape. And I imagine engineers, more than anybody, get to see kind of, like, the nature. I'd hope so.
It's probably honestly split 50% nature, 50% the worst urban decay.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, well, you know Illyria.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know where the train tracks in Illyria are? Okay. And think of the fact that you're not seeing those buildings from the street, you're seeing them from behind. And that's just like one example off the top of my head because, you know, where we're from. It's just kind of a toss-up. But then you get out places, especially like out west, like, because I took the Empire Building, which runs Chicago to Seattle. Okay. It splits it there again.
From where to where?
Well, I didn't take it all, so the whole train runs Chicago to Seattle.
Wow, okay.
I only rode it as far as, where did I get off?
How long was the trip?
I was on that particular train for just about 24 hours. It should have been a little bit less.
That's not terrible.
No. But, no, because I was going to, literally I was on this to go into the middle of nowhere, so.
Oh, okay.
Like, I was in a tent.
Gotcha.
An hour from a village of 400 people, or actually I think 500 people.
Okay.
So, EC.
Yeah.
Imagine a town populated by EC that is the county seat.
Yeah.
That is how in the middle of nowhere I was.
Was that, what was that? Was that for anything or?
That was the dinosaur.
Okay.
But anyways, so I was on that, and probably the views from there, for like, especially once you hit like South Dakota, actually we might have gone through North Dakota, come to think of it, but whatever Dakota we were going through, probably large portions of that view have not changed since they laid down the rails. But yeah, so like that part I can imagine would be pretty unless you've seen it, you know, every day, week in and week out. And then maybe it gets a little bit boring, but you know.
I don't know. I don't think I could ever get tired of just, maybe. I don't know. I haven't done it. It's just like, But I remember driving from Newark, Ohio to Elyria. And that's like it's like a 2-hour, about 2 hours. It's basically Columbus to Elyria or whatever. They were like 2 hours. I remember I used to know exactly how long it would take. And
we'll notice we're on a little bit curve a little bit, although that doesn't help us. But more importantly, we're on a little bit of a hill and have been for a little while. So one of the great things about steel wheels on steel rails is it's very low friction, which means that it can be very fuel efficient. The bad thing is that it's very low friction, so gravity starts winning very easily. Steep for mainline railroad is 2.2%, which, for those of you who don't know percent gradients, means that you're only going up 2.2 feet for every 100 feet you're going forward. So you're about 6 feet up over the length of a football field, which is not much. Like, you can look at that.
You might not notice it.
And it's like, is this flat?
Yeah.
Question mark? It was funny, because I had my geology degree, and so we'd go on field trips. Usually, at least, I had one after my freshman year. And, at one point we went on a field trip somewhere and we started hiking along somewhere, and it was like basically a maintained bike path at that point. But I noticed looking and walking along, and it's like, this is suspiciously flat. And it's like a bike, if you were just building a bike path, like Lowering County Metro Parks or however Metro Parks is just building a bike path, you're going to go up and down hills. This had the place we started at was more filled, so it was built up off the surrounding land a little bit. And it's like, this was a roadbed. This used to be a railroad. It's like, you just start identifying these things, like, if you pay enough attention.
Suspiciously. The geologist will notice.
You're still going. Well, you had a little bit of a dip there, but now notice you're starting to go back uphill. Not extremely noticeable, but it's there.
See, I can't win. It's like I'm either, alright, I'm winning. Slowly. Back up. Bridge time. See, and I go back down to 0, and it's like, oh no, we're going to drop now. We drop it. Okay, I'm just going to set it with 40 to 24. I'm just going to slow. So 8 notches.
Yes.
So there's no. Okay. Unless it was like, that's diesel, like with an electric train.
So electric train, it can be different.
Okay.
I think it depends on who's building it when, to some degree. I'm trying to think of ones that I've heard of recently. And also where, like, the 8 38 notches came from on the US. Probably AMD started it. But that's just kind of become the standard. But overseas railways do things differently because different, like not in the U.S. Well, no, U.S., Canada, and Mexico. I feel like the GG1, which is an electric, you were asking about electric engines, I feel that like that had more notches, like that had 10 or 15 or something like that, but I can't remember right now.
I saw it was an electric train, like, starting up. It was in a subreddit called it's like Strangely Musical, and I don't know what caused it, because I don't know anything about engines or trains or anything, but it cycled through like several octaves of a hum, from like low to high pitched, and then it's sustained because like that was like the engine running. But it was just so straight because it sounded like an organ. Yeah. So Steam is my throttle, like
Steam, it gets way weirder.
It's how much I'm kicking the boy shoveling coal.
No. So okay, I mentioned you have throttle and reverser here.
Yes.
Okay. In reverser, you haven't touched because we just set it in forward, and that's
where we're going.
Okay.
Right.
In Steam, both the throttle and the reverser are important, and you're making adjustments to both of those to varying degrees throughout your run. The reason, so the throttle is the simplest. That's just how wide is the steam valve open, like how, like the throttle valve between the boiler and the pistons, or at least the piston valves, which I'll get to in a second. But in a steam engine, if you look at the side of a steam engine, there's going to be a big piston down below and a smaller piston right above it, if this is a standard conventional steam engine. And what the big one at the bottom, that's the one that's actually doing the work of turning the wheels. The one above it is controlling the steam admission and exhaust from which either end of the cylinder, of the power cylinder. And the weird thing is the same back and forth motion that makes you go forward is also going to make you go reverse. It's just a matter of when is it pushing or pulling. And so by changing when you and for how long you admit steam into whatever end and exhaust it from the other is going to control which direction you're going, and also a little bit efficiency gets into as well. So at low speeds, you need steam emitted throughout if not all, most of the cylinder stroke, because that's how you get enough power to get started. As you start rolling faster, emitting steam over that entire time uses up a lot of steam, and you can only heat up water so quickly. So you start increasing your cutoff, or decreasing your cutoff rather. So you're emitting steam over less power stroke and letting expansion do more of the work. And that allows you to start going faster. A little bit. 1.3 isn't that bad, but it's going to be noticeable, yes. Yeah, you are. Quick cycle through your brakes just to make sure that they're all at 0. Yeah. So, yeah, this is what happens. You just kind of have to get into it and start slogging it out.
Doing its hardest. It's like get out and push.
And you, well, I think you only have spin around. Go back to the aerial view for a second.
Okay.
Wrong aerial view. Spin around for a second. I think. Okay, so you only have the 2 engines.
All right.
But you also have an empty coal train, which is going to weigh, for as much as a train can, weigh next to nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know if those are, but I know a lot of times anymore they build. So a car is limited. I think the current standard is 286,000 pounds.
286,000.
And that's going to be your fully loaded weight.
Okay.
Okay, car and load.
For a single engine?
For a single car.
For a single car.
You can have it fully loaded weigh 286,000 pounds.
Okay.
So that's, again, car and load. Well, for something bulk like coal that you're trying to ship a lot of, ideally, you want the car to weigh as little as possible so you can get as much coal into that space as possible. So they make them out of aluminum. Or at least partially out of aluminum. I think probably still a steel underframe. Just because you're putting thousands of pounds of force into these things. But yeah, so I think with the type of diesel you have, you're looking at probably 8,000 horsepower that you're in control of. And, I mean, you're fighting gravity, and that's all there is to it.
I'm just thinking...
Welcome to the history of railroads.
8,000 horses in a row. That'd be interesting.
Actually, probably... look up to this for a second. Speed. Okay, so it's possibly 8,000.
Just dynamically.
Oh yeah, if you wanted to, rather than using the header and the keyboard, here and do that instead. But that gets hard to see and do at the same time. Like, if you were actually in the cab of the locomotive, it wouldn't be that big a deal because you'd have muscle memory and or just, have your hand on the plow.
Have they made any VR train games?
There is, I discovered,
support for a train?
I don't know if they have VR support for this. I don't think so. I did discover because Kevin asked me about this the other day, and I looked at it, and there is a game called Real Reality, which I played the demo for a few minutes. The other day I had downloaded and I tried it out, and it's kind of interesting. I'd have to... I don't know if it would necessarily be something I'd buy. Well, I don't know but I don't know if it's something I'd do. At least right now. It's kind of interesting. There's also, I have problems with it, like how it's So one of the things I like about this that is incredibly useful if you were in a case that you were switching, you notice you have a wind signal up here, which is good, so just keep on keeping on. Actually hit 9 for a second. So 9 is your map, remember? Hit center player. I wonder if that's oh, that's just a, okay. That's not even a, out to a mine.
Not too far away.
Well, that's just our next task.
Oh.
So notice we have one more after it. So actually, if you click on 4 there, so that's where we're ending. So you've got a bit to go yet. Actually, if you hit F1 and click on the 4 on the left, so we've got 4 miles to go. But anyway, so it was kind of interesting messing around with. One of the problems I had was, like, the demo is a lot of switching work. And as far as I could tell in my brief play around with it, until I derailed and decided I was needed to head home for the night anyways. And at that point I was just messing around with how easy it was to run this thing off the rails. And it was very disconcerting to do that. And I didn't even derail that badly. It was just, I kind of ended up a little bit off the tracks. Yeah. Not as in I tumbled down an embankment, which they show in the trailer video for it. But, one of the things, and like if I'm, one of the things I do at the roundhouse is that I am a brakeman. Which means I am the guy on the ground engineer while he's the one actually driving while we're doing whatever switching.
Wait,
now,
so one more time because I distracted myself with the car.
Okay. Yes, brakeman. Although, hold on, before we, I'll continue the story in a moment. Notice you are about to be going downhill, and it's probably going to be a significant downhill. So my recommendation is to switch to the dynamic brake. That's going to be the lower one. Okay, because that's again like kind of the engine brake kind of thing. And as you start getting over this hill and speeding up, you're going to notch that up. Okay. And again, you're trying not... This game is much more forgiving of sudden changes, and you're not going to, as the engineer down at the roundhouse is fond of saying, piss away your air. So trained air brakes are kind of a whole other thing. Okay. But, so it's not easy, like if you are in the cab of a locomotive, as you have noticed here, it is not easy to see anything other than kind of like forward.
Yeah.
And this is better than some because you've got the big windows here. One of the things I was looking at dropping you into when you said pick the coal district was I have a, apparently I have a long put forward locomotive, which, turn around for a moment. Okay, that's what you'd see.
So my engine would be at the back of the train.
No, you would still be in the front, but the locomotive itself is set up backwards to how this works. Okay.
Like how this one is.
Kind of like if that one was in the front and running forward.
Yeah.
Yes, that's kind of how that would be. So you're gonna have to shut off the throttle for a second. And it's going to take a couple seconds to get... See, one of the things with dynamic brakes is they're going to take a second to engage, but see... Okay. Oh, you might actually have to start using your air again. Okay, so you're starting to slow down here. So... with being in dynamic brake mode, the carrots, I guess. make little adjustments until you start to just barely speed up or barely slow. Okay? And with the dynamics like this, you don't want to you don't want to go unlike a throttle, you don't want to necessarily take this down to 0, especially since we're going to be on the brake here for a while. Because if you go down to 0, you're going to have to re-engage energize. And that's going to take a little bit, at which point you might start speeding. Yeah, so the derail valley, one of the things I didn't like is I couldn't figure out in just a little bit I was playing around with it, a way to get out of the cab, which makes it very difficult to switch. I basically had to trust that what was written down of where cars were was where they actually were. As opposed to like here you can get out of, and there's even a free roam camera if you want, but you can like get out of the cab and kind of look around, which is helpful. Yeah, but so the reason why I was saying like timing it, like I think this is very much more forgiving of this sort of thing. You can, if you're not careful with air brakes, end up with no brakes. Yeah. Because what happens is there is a single airline that runs the length of the track. Okay? And if you have the brakes in the release position, then air from the locomotive from the reservoirs is piped through that train. It goes into reservoirs on each car, and as those reservoirs get filled up, they basically push the brake cylinders. Okay? Yeah. Okay. What happens, and notice you should have a signal here. Oh, so it's a north signal, so see how it's down low? Yeah. You're looking at the one on the left because you're on the left track. And it's green, so that's good. Oh, right, so if you need to stop or slow down, okay, what the engineer will do is he'll make what's called a reduction. So air in the brake pipe is for freight locomotive freight trains at 90 psi. Okay, you'll take a few psi off. Okay, and that reduction in the brake line will cause the air from the reservoirs on the cars to click on the cylinder and start to apply the brakes to varying degrees depending on how much of a reduction you made. Okay, well if you then release the brakes, okay, you put the train line back up to 90, okay, the air in the cylinder is vented off, and you start to recharge the air in the reservoir. But if you make the next reduction too soon, it's not back up to full capacity. And if you do that enough times, eventually you don't have enough air pressure in the reservoir to make the application. Okay, so notice that yellow 15?
Yes.
Okay, it means in a half a mile you're going to need to be down to 15 miles an hour.
Yeah, this would be nice.
Yeah. So as you start noticing you're starting to flatten out here, because we're getting into where the mine is, and therefore you'd have tracks to hold cars, which you don't want at an angle because, again, cars will start rolling with very little excuse. So at this point, you can probably lose. Yeah, maybe too soon. Go to your independent break. So that's the middle one. Okay, and notch that up just a little bit because you're about to enter in 15. And maybe we should have to just do train break. Nope, just barely made it. And check, because I think you tried using one of the keys, which break you can okay, so you have dynamic, not zero, so go ahead and set that to zero. So the independent is, or the engine brake, that's just the brake on the locomotive, which will work a little bit differently than the cars, so you don't have to...
Tunnel. There's a tunnel. We're going through a tunnel. Do you think the horn sounds like on a tunnel?
I have no idea. Probably incredibly loud.
So it sounds like outside a tunnel. Inside a tunnel. Not very different.
Okay. They may not have the scripts running to
dynamic audio in the tunnel.
Yeah. Knowing what I forget what. There's like a minimum level that a train horn has to sound at, just because it's a warning device. You do not want a quiet warning device. But it's at a significant, like, I forget if it's like 90 or 100 at whatever distance. I cannot help but imagine that the horn, let alone the engine noise just in general, is tremendous in something, especially because that looked like it's essentially a concrete pole, big enough to fit a locomotive through.
With engineers, they have like ear protection, right? Do they have like
you can usually. So I don't know about mainline. I know we have at the Roundhouse basically the foam in-ear plugs that we'll wear sometimes. I've also seen like some people have like kind of more over-the-ear protection. Oh, you are supposed to be okay. Stopping. So. See where it says Bailey line loading?
Yeah.
And that's where we're supposed to be stopping?
Oh, shit.
So, switch to train brake.
Yes.
And at any time now, go ahead and just... Not emergency. So emergency... Okay. Emergency is for emergency braking. Okay. Like... and now we just... no, don't release it. Because you have to stay here for long enough for that counter to go back. So you see that red? Yeah.
Well done. Good to cop break. Boys, take it from here. Alright.
Yeah. So basically what we just ran under would be a coal dump that they basically you'd run through that at a low speed and it would just dump coal into all those gondolas, and then either you or the next guy would take it back out.
All right. Okay. So emergency brake settings at the beginning, speeding, timelessness. It's a big one. Speeding, timelessness, big timelessness at the fork main 2. Speeding, and then emergency brake setting at the end. Not very much.
Okay. Click on either global or top. I'm trying. Okay. Hit global, top.
Top.
Okay. So, people have supposedly at least been able to get 1,000 points out of that by doing what they were supposed to, how they were supposed to, and being on time with it.
Okay. And I scored -4,000. Actually,
No,
that's
that was
timeless.
just the last one.
Oh, that's just they're very upset. with
Yeah.
me. Okay.
I don't think that. I think that's why if you clicked on global, it had me at 0. Yeah, it had me at 0 because I don't think they let you get negative score.
Okay, so I just got nothing.
Yes.
Okay. What do I start? Do I start with I start with 1,000 probably.
I think if I know sometimes they have done that or base. Well, okay, so there were 3 check marks, like time, like checkpoints kind of thing. Like 4 locations we were supposed to hit. The 3 that we just passed by and the one we stopped at.
4.
So probably if we were on time with those, we'd get 250 each.
Okay. All right. All right. Why don't you show me how it's done?
Okay.
Let's take a look. I want to see what 700 hours of experience
Well,
gets you.
it's probably a bit rusty of 700 hours of experience because, like I said, I haven't played much lately because
Been playing Portal.
well, even before that, my computer was not running this well.
I see.
And by running well, I mean it was like doing 12 frames a second.
Jeez.
And at that point, it was just like, I'm done.
So where would you play it?
Hmm?
Would you play it on your laptop?
Yeah, I played
okay.
on my laptop. Well,
Oh.
that was my computer.
Yeah. But you just weather through 12
and
FPS.
I was doing that for a little bit, and then I got other games, and it's like, okay, I'm going to play other things besides this. Why is it not being nice to me right now? Come on. Did I break it? I think I annoyed the computer.
Can you not click with your...
Like it wasn't doing anything.
Huh. Oh.
I mean, it's moving, but it's not
But it's not picking up
responding.
Huh. It's just so pissed off with how bad I did. They're like, go take a coffee break forever. Have you, so this is Rail Simulator.
Train
with,
Simulator.
Train Simulator?
Train Simulator,
All right.
yes.
I put Rail Simulator on Twitch and everything. Anyway. Tomato.
Well, because there was I'm trying to remember, because there's a couple different simulator games.
Okay.
Train simulator games. There's Trains with a Z.
That I don't trust immediately.
Yeah. I before I got into this particular program, I had found, I have no idea where I'd gotten it because it was kind of older when I rediscovered it at home. That I had like a Trains with a Z CD and I messed around with, and there was a curve on one of the routes. I'll probably
You want here? I'll go to couch cam view,
Okay.
and then you can mess with.
There
There you go.
is it?
And then Alt Tab. There you go. It's doing that thing. Oh, it sucks.
Come on. Okay, fine. Okay, you know what? You're being a butt. So anyways, there was a curve that, like, on the route was marked, oh, you're supposed to go around this at, like, no more than 10 miles an hour because it's a sharp curve.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up going around it at one point on accident, like, at 40, and it didn't derail, and that was the point. It's like, I'm not buying, like, I want a little bit more realism out of it. If I'm going to spend a lot of time on this, I'm going to want a little bit more realism
I want
out
to
of
be
it.
punished for my sins.
Come on. Why are you being so ornery? It is just being very mad at me.
You have it open, but it's like dominating your screen for some reason. Try hitting the Windows key.
I mean, it does that.
And then...
And I tried closing it there, but it's just not... Okay. Does that do anything? I mean, it came up. But it's just not letting me do anything else. Okay.
It's not like... Okay, well, how about a restart then?
Yep.
2 apps. Yep. Okay.
There's also now defunct I can't remember if it was Microsoft Rail Simulator or Microsoft Train Simulator. That again, like I said, it's now defunct. The newest, so besides Derail Valley, which I talked about earlier being the VR, there is also, but I think that one's a little bit more funner. Like, that's not necessarily as real world. There is also...
Everybody listen for Nick typing his password. The other one I know of is something called it's called Run 8 Simulator. Run 8.
And I think that's supposed to be one of the most accurate, and they were building it from scratch, like starting a couple years ago.
Okay.
But as a result, they don't have much content for it that I know of. And also that one's the only one that I know of that has, I think it might be the only one that has like true multiplayer. So I don't know if you can see each other, but I know like it's designed to be more of, you can have multiple people in a session operating trains, and there's also what it would be a dispatcher.
I see, yeah.
And that was just getting underway when I started getting into the train simulator stuff. And so, and also this is for fun when I feel like it. Yeah. I don't want to, the thing like Mike and Mal do with like Warcraft, and I'm going to schedule time to be on do this thing with other people, just doesn't appeal to me that much. Yeah. So, okay, so we're back into it.
All right. I'll switch back. Strum.
What do I want to do?
So once you buy Train Simulator, does it update yearly? Because this is Train Simulator 2019.
Yes, they put out, so basically every year they have, to some degree or another, some sort of updates that go on. But it's also like when you buy the starter pack, as you will, they update what routes are offered. So they have a selection of like some of the newer routes that, like, when you go to buy Train Simulator the first time, it's like, these are the routes you get. And it's usually like tends to be one German, one UK, one North American route that you get as like part of your starting pack. And then they have all manner of things as add-ons that you can buy after the fact, and that's where most of the money that I put into this has gone.
Has been more routes.
Routes, locomotives.
Locomotives.
You know what I feel like doing?
Get up for a second.
Oh, those are long. Okay, never mind. What time is it? Oh, it's almost 9 o'clock. Maybe I'll do something shorter then. Okay, so in that case, since it is 9 o'clock. We'll do this.
Okay.
We'll jump to the other side of the pond.
And you're working tomorrow, right?
Yeah, but it's volunteer, so it's
No,
like,
but I mean, you're getting up early and all that.
depends on how early I feel like getting up.
All right.
Again, falls under the category of volunteer.
Yeah, I mean, they can't really yell at you.
I mean,
they could.
But are they? Probably not. What's the worst they're going to do? Fire me? Okay. I don't have to be.
No,
I mean, it's like...
I came here.
Oh,
and by the way, yeah, that's right, Mike. I'm drinking your cranberry juice. Guess what else? I watered it down. That's right. It was so strong, I added water to it. I'm going to drink all of it. Actually, at least I'm drinking all... Like, I will drink all of it. It'd just be worse if it's like, nah, it offended me, so I poured it down the drain. Alright. So you gotta get there by 20 minutes.
okay. We're not gonna mess with that.
Alright.
Okay, so this is... Oh, we are in Britain, so we are on the opposite side of the cab because Britain. But notice this is your forward visibility from inside the cab. And this, as steam locomotives go, I mean, in Britain it's a good size. So this is engine brake off as well. So in Britain, this is Tornado. This is a locomotive, steam locomotive they built from scratch just a few years ago. Because Britain is serious about their preservation. You might want to turn this down just a bit.
There we go. Still have the realism. So what does that mean?
So this is it's a semaphore.
Okay.
Okay. It just does green or red. There is no yellow.
Okay.
Up is green, down is red.
Okay.
Or horizontal is red.
Gotcha.
And there's also the lights there for at nighttime. Okay, so a couple additional things to keep in mind here. Oh, first of all, I was talking about steam engine. For Britain, this is like their big express engine. The U.S. passed this size thing up at around the turn of the century. Like literally a 462 was, you know, your 19 teens, and it would be a bigger 462 than this, would be your 19 teens express passenger locomotive, not remotely even, like some of the big passenger locomotives would dwarf this, let alone great locomotives like the Big Boy or something. Anyways, okay, so some things to keep in mind. That was a little bit more of a modern thing, also green. With a steam engine, I have to keep an eye on...
Fuck! Ah! You're dead.
The fire isn't as... I don't think there's as... I've never figured out if on here there's any big rhyme or reason for the fire, just kind of keep it at roughly the same place.
Okay.
Water you have to keep an eye on. That you want hanging at around 75-80%.
Okay.
If it gets too low, all of a sudden you have a boiler explosion. And that does bad things.
Okay.
You also have to keep an eye on the boiler pressure.
Yes.
Okay. So you'll notice that right now it is green and therefore climbing. If it goes red, that means I'm losing boiler pressure and I have to make adjustments. So if you notice right now my throttle is at 100%, so it's wide open, but I have the cutoff set at 22%. So steam is only getting admitted into the cylinders for roughly 22% of the travel distance.
16 minutes, 14 seconds.
I don't think I'm making it. I don't think I got enough speed up when I got going. And now all of a sudden notice I'm starting to go uphill. Although I should put water. So that hissing sound and why the gauge just dropped is boilers have a maximum pressure. And there are safety valves that will automatically vent when you exceed whatever setting they have. And depending on the size of your steam locomotive, there might be multiple at different points. And when and they should be of a size that they should be able to vent the boiler entire, like max the boiler's output at whatever their maximum release setting is.
This is a small one. Shit, what I did, fucked it up. I'm also partially worried about how old it is because, no, actually I think you're okay.
Do we need to take up a collection to get you a new MacBook charger? Knockoff?
A knockoff from China for like $5. If I really cared, which I don't. I mean, it's well, like, what I could do is if you have, place of business pay for it, because it's theirs, but yeah, it's, so, Britain, when the last steam engine
On the hair, so they don't have, they're not new build. Okay. They're not for everyday use. Okay. Let me put it that way, because this one is new build. So they're on diesels and electrics like pretty much everybody else is. But they have much more of a preservation culture. There's more support for the heritage lines. There's more support for the mainline trips.
people actually
yeah. And so, like I said, the reason why you even have something like this is, like, in the U.S., there are lots of types of steam locomotives that were scrapped and none were saved, and it's a crime against humanity. Like, one of my favorites, the New York Central Customs, there weren't any saved. Out of 275 locomotives, not one got saved.
What would it?
This was...
Like, were they thinking that, oh, man...
It was a bottom line. What the companies just weren't interested.
But I mean, it's like you can't just put them somewhere. There's
well,
like
New York Central wasn't interested. Let me put it that way. The Pennsylvania, for as much as the New York Central and Pennsylvania have a rivalry, and along with the New York Central, although both are fallen flags, but that's beside the point. They did things much better in that they, except for a couple at the end, that I just don't think they were as happy with. The design-wise, they made an effort of saving at least one of every type of steam locomotive that they had. And they all ended up, with the exception of I think one's elsewhere, but they all pretty much ended up at what is appropriately the regular Museum of Pennsylvania. So some railroads did it better than others. Union Pacific is an interesting place. So Union Pacific, one half of the first transcontinental, they kind of accidentally ended up with a really significant locomotive, their number 844, which I was saying, so this is a 462, 4 wheels up front, 6 speed driving wheels, 2 wheels underneath. This is the 844 is a 484. So 4 wheels up front, 8 wheels in the middle, 4 wheels in the back, and a tender that probably outweighs this entire locomotive. But anyways,
what was that train that you bought?
It's an electric that hasn't shown up yet. Are you talking about that model-wise?
Yeah, that I thought. Well, no, I was just asking.
Okay.
I remember you being very proud.
I have a.
Here's the price of a graphics card. It's like.
Yeah.
That's like.
I have 2 locomotives and one on order. The 2 steam locomotives I bought. Actually, the one might have been new, but at least one was used. I bought the 2 steam engines for $900 apiece, and the electric is going to be like $800 something ish. But anyways,
now is it a model of a steam engine, but it's electric?
So I have the 2 steam engines are models of steam engines, but they run on electricity. There are live steamers that I've never gone that far down the rabbit hole because that I'd have to do outside.
Well, it'd be cool. It's like you could probably machine.
Oh, there are tested. Adam Savage's tested.com on their YouTube. One of their guys visited a live steamers convention a little while ago, and that was really interesting to see some of the.
I think I've even seen something. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, and there's different sizes. There's some that you can actually pick up, and then there are ones that you can actually ride on. These were more of the can pick up, like basically things that would be about the size of my models, but just run on live steam. And then the new one that I have ordered though is an actual, in real life it was an electric locomotive. But anyways, UP's 844 has never been retired, and it's the only mainline engine to never have been retired, more or less on accident. So Wyoming, I don't know if you know this, but it gets a little bit of snow every now and then. Okay. As in feet of snow.
Yeah.
And
it's like
the UP at the end of steam probably started off keeping it around as backup power if there was a surge in traffic or something. But eventually, but what they ended up using it for a while was they kept it in Cheyenne, and during the winter, they had hooked up some pipes to it, and they would go around and melt snow off the switches. And that was kind of its lot in life for a little while until people started coming around to see the locomotive, and Union Pacific thought, well, if they're interested in it, we might as well use it for PR or something. And so then it got basically bumped up in a lot of, not a lot of, but they do certain special events, and they'll do certain inspection trips with the officers of the company and stuff with that engine. And so it has its distinction is it's never been retired. It's been working since It was delivered in, I want to say, 1940 something, for the same railroad it was bought for, which is kind of special in the U.S. So I'm not doing very good because I'm down on boiler pressure and I'm not making very good time, but we are having fun and that's all that's important. Does this have test? It does not. Okay. Some of the cars, depending on when they were made, have like a passenger view that you can ride inside the cars.
Oh, that's fun.
So if you were on a thing like this, that it's like, well, I guess I'm stuck going up here for a while. You could ride in the coaches a little bit. I think there's also, I don't know if there's some modes too. I know there's like a railfan mode that you can like on certain places, like just watch trains go by.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hop on board one of those that like that one you could just ride or something, but left the cylinder cocks open. That's why it was making so much noise.
I thought that was just what it sounds like.
Some days it does, but I'm not going quite fast enough for that, I don't think. Yeah, I'm not doing a very good job with this, but they have, they've also done, you know, the Mallard, the Steam Speed Record holder. I'm gonna go with no. Okay. It was just one of those things I figured maybe, like, that's a little bit more general knowledge. I think,
Mallard.
no. Yes. So there's, so I would mention this is Tornado.
Okay, yes.
In Britain, a lot of the engines, especially if you were on a mainline engine, got names. It was the London and Northeastern Railway, their A4 class. A lot of them were named after birds. Mallard being one of them.
Okay.
And okay. And it set the record of, I want to say 128 miles an hour. So that's the record for how fast a steam locomotive can go. They've made that for this game. And the scenarios for that, and they actually made all 6 preserved versions that you can drive. But the scenarios they have for it are basically a setup to see, like, it's like an anniversary trip of the Mallard run, and you get to see how fast you can go.
Now, is that the Mallard just the engine by itself?
Yeah, just the engine by itself
All right.
is the Mallard.
Okay. You have to slow down here.
No, I'm just, that's how slow I'm going at the moment, just because of my poor boiler steam management.
Alright.
So like I said, I am not doing particularly great with this, but
Have they? Well, okay. I feel like they're too serious to, like, throw in like a Thomas the Tank Engine kind of thing.
I don't know that I would say serious, because, I mean, they
What
are
if
in the
it's just a licensing
habit.
issue?
It's probably more of licensing, because I guarantee that there would be enough people interested that if they put it out, or because they also have third-party developers that work with them as well. So like the copy of the 844 that I have is through a developer called Smokebox that I really like, because he just does steam engines. He does a really good job. I have the 844 and the smaller 280, like a little freight locomotive. He's also done lately that I need to get one of these days now that I'm back into this a little bit more. A couple, like, so basically the engines that were at the Golden Spike. Like those, like literally those.
Yeah.
That's been some of his work lately, but
No.
But so
I know. Okay. So
I
know of
guarantee
the
if you
Golden
could
Spike.
get the licensing,
Yeah.
somebody would make and probably make money on having made a Thomas for Train Simulator or something like it. Because while I guarantee there would be people who would scoff at the idea, because look, I'm going to be upfront. There's snobs in any hobby that you can possibly have.
Yeah.
There are snobs of I am too good for this, or this is too lowbrow. I am not one of those people. I would totally buy a Thomas tank engine.
I'd be
like
super excited if there was a Thomas the Tank Engine and I could do Shinington Station routes. I think it would make me want to buy the game. Honestly, I'd be like, okay, let's see what's. But I wonder if it's like. But then you get into the issue of like, all right, Thomas is a steam engine. Does he run like a steam engine, or is like that was the question? Is like how sentient were these things and why were they?
And it depends on what your medium you're looking at. So like in the books, and if you were going to base it off of something, I'd probably recommend basing it off of the Reverend Audrey's original stories.
Okay.
Because he had the whole island mapped out. Here is the island, this is the lines, this is the logic behind the lines. Like, so it would have actually probably operated as a, like, on a game fairly well.
Yeah.
When you get into the TV show and depending on when you're looking at it, like, it gets varies a little bit, starts to drift. It used to be like at least in the original stories and the TV episodes based off of the original stories, he very much operated like a regular steam engine, and you had a crew. He had a driver and a fireman who operated him.
Okay. That's just interesting because it's just like it's kind of scary to think he is sentient but has no agency. So, like, my supreme hope is that he has some control. Like, I knew in the show they could drive themselves, and they their effort, right?
It depends on when you're looking at them.
Okay.
I think the more recent shows, you've got more of their kind seem to be maybe operating themselves. One of the original stories I can think of, called Thomas Goes to Breakfast, or Comes to Breakfast, is Thomas thinks he should be able to operate without his driver, but he can't. And there's more or less an accident little thing that he kind of gets started but then can't stop, and that gets him into trouble.
I'm remembering there's ones where they seem to be putting forth efforts, and then it makes me like, what are they doing? What effort are they putting in to make them pull harder or go faster? In this essay, I will be explaining the horrifying existence of these trains and their friends. So, you're at 6.9.
7 miles an hour.
7 miles an hour.
Yeah, I am not doing very good with this at the moment.
So, like, how how do you make yourself go? Like you got your
Basically, I've dug myself into a hole at this point. Is more or less what it came down to. Is we're on what has been quite a bit of a grade.
Yes.
Not so much. I mean, maybe a little bit steep. Well, not that steep. We're at like 1% right now. It's so the gradient. We're probably covering it out with the couch so they can't see it. But for it says 1 out of 100 or 1 over 100, which is how the Brits do show the grade as opposed to the Americans doing the percent. But 1 over 100 it ends up being 1%.
Sure.
So it's yes a little bit of a grade, but not that much more of it's been a grade since almost the time I got started, and I just haven't been managing the engine exceedingly well.
Gotcha.
And it's one of those things of if you dig yourself into that hole, like I'm down probably like 10 pounds of boiler pressure at this point, something like that. And I could get back up pretty quickly if I wanted to, but that would mean shutting off the throttle, at which point I stop, which kind of defeats the purpose.
Right. So you're trying to build both.
So I'm trying to at least keep moving to some degree while building a little bit of boiler pressure. And so as a result, I'm letting my water gauge run down a bit, which... So you can see where, because of refraction, which is kind of a cool thing, honestly, to do it this way, where the lines zigzag the opposite direction from the background. Physics, it works.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's showing me, that's my cycle.
All right.
Okay, that's the water level in the boiler.
Okay.
At probably what's the bottom of these, or a little bit below the bottom of these, that's where the firebox crown is, or the crown sheet is. If the water gets down that low, so how a steam engine works, okay? You have the fire. There's a metal sheet over that. There's water with steam at the top, and then there's another metal sheet sandwiching that steam and water to the inside of the firebox. And you do that because you're trying to get the most heat transfer out of burning the coal or whatever.
Yes.
Okay. If the water drops below the top of that crown sheet, the steam doesn't wick heat away as well, so that crown sheet will get incredibly hot incredibly quickly, start to not necessarily melt, but weaken, which is what happens when steel starts to get towards melting point, at which point you will have a failure and the boiler will explode. That is a process that's generally ill-advised in the operation of a steam locomotive.
I don't think it was ever a correct move to blow. It's probably never the right call.
Yeah. Unless you were engaged in sabotage for like war effort or something, I could see you possibly doing something like that. I don't know how exactly you would do that without killing yourself. You'd probably have to open up a blowdown valve and then run like hell. So
couldn't you just like jump out? No, that's probably ill-advised, but like, well, okay, so how big of an explosion and how much shrapnel would fly with a boiler?
I mean, it probably depends on what your boiler pressure is at, to the size of the boiler, like basically how much steam is there to expand, and you know, is it going to wreck a whole lot of the stuff around it? Probably not. You would not do well in the cab.
Yeah.
Like, that would be definitely not a place you want to be. That's why I was saying, like, And the problem is, if you notice, you're up off the ground a little bit even.
Okay.
Like, even if you're standing still, you're up off the ground. So even if you're in, but you have to be in the cab to, like, open up the blowdown valve or something. So you'd have to open that up and just climb down and start running. And I don't know how quickly the water level... And that would... and it would depend. So...
Talk to me about the plausibility of the 3 logs to come back to the future through kind of like a time traveling steam engine.
I'm not going to touch the time traveling steam engine. The 3 logs, that's not really your biggest problem. Your biggest problem, I mean, your biggest problem is really just the area you have to transfer heat. And you can create a really hot fire, and unless you have area to transfer that heat, it's just not going to do it.
Okay.
Throw the green log. Well, have you messed around with any kind of like bullet train anything?
A little. I have some of them. I have a TGV I bought at one point just because I wanted to try one of those, and I have a couple German high-speed. I have the American Excella. I have at least one British high-speed for the... I don't think you go through the tunnel, but it's for, like, the tunnel. Like, that's where it's supposed to be running. I have not played around with them a whole lot. But yeah, depending on what time it is when I finally get done with this, if either on stream or off stream you want to, like, me to pull up one of those just to kind of, and I can even do that in a quick drive to just kind of open it up and see what happens.
It was cool in Japan because at least, I think in at least 2 or 3 different arcades, the big ones, they'd have a train simulator. And it was, like, it didn't, I wouldn't say it simulated the entire cab, but you had some controls. And it was pretty much just operating, I think it was more the passenger trains that run around. Maybe that thing, but yeah, there might have been some opportunity to ride, I don't know about a bullet, but we thought about taking a train through or something, or near it, but I was exhausted. Like, every day I was off walking around everywhere, and by that time I was just like, I don't have it in me to get up, ride a 2.5-hour train to somewhere, go hiking, and ride a 2-hour train back. So I have to stay in touch. We did ride a lot of subways, though. Well, subway? I guess. I'm trying hard to think. A lot of it was just... Some of it was above ground, some of it wasn't. So...
And that's another place that basically, I mean, in part... Well, I guess the bullet train was probably a little bit later. I know in part, like, how you got some of the, like, European railways is we kind of messed things up at the end of the Second World War. Like, things were just, like, that, because that was a target. Like, that was, you know... the same as, well, and it was targeted in the U.S. to some degree too. For some, there were some Nazi saboteurs that tried to blow up Horseshoe Curve, which even today is still like a main artery through Pennsylvania. And you just have incredible tonnage going over this place. And if you target something like that, you can start crippling the war effort. I know the U.S. Or probably Britain too, that there were bombing runs on railway yards, bridges. Track, it's harder to get because you blow up track, you lay new track, like, to some degree. Bridges are harder to replace. Yards, just because everything is staying still, and you have the switches to deal that add complexity. See, now I'm up a little bit faster. I finally got going again. Well behind where I'm supposed to be, so I'm about to get a big deduction here.
Everyone's pissed off. They're like, why were you going 10 miles an hour?
I mean, yes. Probably the people blindside more than some people on the train. Oh boy. Yeah, that was bad.
For those of you who blinked, that was negative 23,000 points.
But anyways, like, when I was helping out on the 765 recently, it's like, oh darn, I get a longer train ride. Boo-hoo. Yeah, the A4s, which is the class of locomotive that the Mallard is a part of, those I'd have to try to see if I could find, if I took any screenshots. I think those I got up to like around 110 miles an hour when I was trying to do the time trial with that. So I can drive fast, a steam engine quickly. It's just, I did not have a good run this time.
Well, it's like if you build up the pressure first and then if you go from there, it's easier.
Well, it was built up when I started. I just wasn't paying attention, got distracted, wasn't working it like I should have. And I got up to 50 miles an hour just in time to start going downhill. Yay. A little over 2.5 miles. Okay. Oops. Wrong button. That button. Well, they're mostly based on real life locations.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know to what degree. I can't remember if it was this or something else that talked about being able to go into like a Google Maps, select an area, and kind of import elevations.
Yeah.
Certainly there's enough other places that you could get something like that. I can't, like, that might be easier, but then you still have to decorate, and that's just the routes. Like, as far as the level, kind of more the traditional level would be the, like, individual scenario, and that you have to make a choice on. Yeah, I know. Nope. Handbrake it is, especially since I have to stop.
brush to paint something like this, and so you see like white and this kind of evenly spaced apart. So you can just kind of draw, but at the same time, you have to create that brush. Like that's a custom-made brush, and you still have to draw it onto the map. And if it's like however many real miles long, you have to go through and do that work. And that's just toys. Then you have these balls you have to put together. And the houses and the cars and everything. And whether you have to model those yourself, but still just placing it all together. And it's a lot of work. Which makes me kind of realize where the cost comes from.
Oh yeah, like, now Steam. Part of the great thing about doing this is that they're on Steam and therefore Steam sales.
Mm-hmm.
But usually a locomotive runs about 20. Am I not supposed to be stuck here? Do I need to have the engine stuck in here? This is about to be annoying.
Make sure everybody can get off.
Oh, you know what it probably... No, I know what it is. I have to be... It's been a while since I played, and it's, I need to unload passengers.
All three of them.
So, like, usually locomotives run about 20, a route runs about 40, depending on, what's involved and whatnot. And, I mean, I get it. It's a lot of work that goes into these. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, nope.
Just need to post up on various forums.
Yeah, no. Did not do well. We'll see if it works this time. See, it did it okay. I think it just ain't like you. So just really quick.
Okay.
Since we have a minute here. Electric. Where's my... You know what? Let's do... I haven't driven one of these yet. Let's do... You? No, let's do you where you're supposed to be.
Oh, the living room. That's fun.
Yeah, I picked up at one point a, I have a Halloween one too that I don't think I've ever played. Oh. I played the Christmas one. Mm-hmm. But they had like a kind of Christmas special that was like, it was designed, it looked more like a, toy train.
Yeah.
That you were set up hence in the living room.
That's fun.
I think they've done like another Christmas one that I just never picked up either. But so they have, so to your point about Thomas, they have some more kind of in the fun realm of things. Mm-hmm. That I imagine probably mostly it's just licensing would be a pain. At best.
Like, this is something I might have to look up afterwards because a Thomas the Tank Engine game sounds like it would do really well.
Oh, I did this at night. Yeah, we'll leave it. Okay. Release forward. Oh, interesting. So all of a sudden I noticed it went negative on the throttle, which means it's in regenerative braking. Basically the, so on electric trains, you can have, so I mentioned dynamic brakes with the diesel. Mm-hmm. Basically, the way a diesel locomotive works is you have the diesel engine, powers a huge generator, powers electric motors that are geared to the wheels. Mm-hmm. And you do this because otherwise I mean, can you imagine a clutch for a 1,000 horsepower engine? It just
Yeah.
doesn't work well.
Nope.
So because of that, they developed the dynamic braking, which is basically you turn the electric motors and the wheels into electric generators, and you run it through a resistor grid.
Okay.
Well, if you do that on an electric engine that's connected basically to the grid, you can generate power that then goes back into the grid that can be used by other trains, essentially.
Okay.
We're gonna break the rules here because we're just doing this. This one can actually have, yeah. See, this one has passenger view.
Neat.
Some of them have alternate views. I guess just the one car, which is weird because I mean they're all the same car, but you know, whatever. Anyways, back into the cab. By the way, this is the French TGV, one of the more recent iterations of it. On I forget which route at the moment, and it's French anyway, so I wouldn't pronounce it correctly anyways. So you know what the heck.
Well, didn't you take French and?
No, I took.
Oh, you took.
I took Spanish. I took 1 year of Spanish twice. Once in high school, and then because I needed language credit in college, I took Spanish again because I figured at least I'd have, you know, some idea of what I'm doing. So notice we're about to hit. We're allowed to go 110,
for Spanish?
and then 140 in about a mile. So these will move, and probably once I get through here, I'll just kind of open it up.
Who did you have for Spanish?
I don't remember.
I had Bailey Smith. And then I had Shaw.
I can't remember at the moment.
I remember them not liking me very much because I didn't do much. Me and everybody else, we were all like, man, fuck this. Not really, we just didn't want to put the time in. And so it's like, geez, I'm going to put the time into, I'm going to spend 2 hours a day learning vocabulary so that I can talk about where the bathroom is and what color Dante's shoes are. We're just like, man.
So just to point out,
Yes.
although I think we may be covering it up with the couch so you can't really see on the stream, we are going, here we go, to the other end of the line, I think, if I remember correctly. So I am, yeah, we just got started from this south end of the route that they have modeled. We are going to the north end, which is 90 kilometers, which is
60 miles. Well,
no, it's 1.6 kilometers per mile. So it's 8/5.
1.6.
Probably about 60 miles, a little bit over, around there, close enough. And we're going to make this trip in about half an hour, less than, especially if I keep speeding. Which, if I notice, all of a sudden I am up to 215 miles an hour, which is probably concerning. Except that we're going to hit a 230 mile an hour here thing pretty soon. So as long as I don't derail in the 160 section, we may be okay. Yeah, don't do this on a real train.
Here we go.
Usually, oh darn it! So did you hear that little beeping there?
No, I didn't.
Okay, there was a little beeping there, and on routes, high speed and such, you have. Did it do? It's released. Okay. There's signals, like, and you have to acknowledge signals, and even just sometimes every so often, like, make acknowledgement of the fact that, I think I just need to stop here to reset this. Unless I can figure out what switch needs flipped. Otherwise we may just end up ending this here because we're just messing around anyways. Well, I'm messing around and I've never learned how to drive these. I mean, there's a certain amount of
Green shot.
Oh no, you did not shoot that green shit at me!
That's what that is. Alright.
Nope, I did something that I do not know how to recover from.
Gee.
But wait, shouldn't there be cabinets? That's the forward light. I think there's a button somewhere for cab lights. Usually is, at least. Okay, so
Right.
I think we're just gonna
Okay.
end it there. But yeah, so you can, you kind of need to know, like, there's manuals for every single locomotive and route in here for a reason, because every route almost has a different signaling system, especially like kind of the high-speed routes have unique signaling systems. The US, you'll have different looks to them, but they kind of tend to look the same outside of the Northeast Corridor. At least they're, again, a high-speed route, so they have weirdness and also X-Pensy. Oh, and the Horseshoe Curve route is Pensy, so it has weird signals too. So instead of lights, it's positions, because it's replicating semaphores, basically.
Okay.
So, like, straight up and down is your green light, it's clear to go. Diagonal is the yellow, horizontal is red, but there's also different interplays between those and all kinds of different things. And then the high-speed overseas routes is all over the place.
Yeah.
And then each locomotive operates to some degree differently. Like, a lot of the US diesels are pretty much it's more flavor than anything else. But with the different, like, electrics and whatever, it gets interesting and different. So yeah, so that's Train Simulator. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed kind of tagging along.
I liked it. I liked experiencing it. And I don't know if I'm gonna run to Steam to buy it, but it's in my head now. And I think
Put it on the wish list, wait for, like, you know, sale or something, because usually they'll come along and it's like, I'm trying to remember what's the current, like I said, there's a more or less starter pack that, like, this is the game and then you buy add-ons, and I forget what the current starter pack is, what routes. I want to say Soldier Summit is the US route, which is a Colorado Rockies pass.
Okay.
You know, good old mountain railroading.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's also usually you get 3, so it's like a US, UK, German, because I don't know for sure, but I suspect that's their 3 main markets. Like I said, they're a UK-based company. US is pretty popular, and this seems like a very German, like, from the stereotypes of German people, this seems like a very German thing to do.
There's something about Europe, they love their sim games. Like there's a picture where it's just a wall of games, but it's like bus simulator, train simulator, plane simulator, farm simulator, cab simulator, 911 simulator, ambulance like just every profession that you could ever imagine with a sim, and it all was the same font because they're all fucking made by the same company. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. If you didn't, cool. We're the Courtesy Flush. We're a collective of people, mostly Mike Fields, but he's on a trip, so it's me. It's me and Nick, and mostly
That's who you get.
That's what you get. So Monday, I guess we could keep playing Dark Souls because we're just missing Mike. So I suppose we could do Dark Souls. Wednesday, I know Crash is excited about Soul Calibur, so we might do that. Friday, maybe I'll play Hearthstone, just because that's who I am. That's the game I've put 700 hours into, and several $100 into. Not anymore. It's kind of on the back burner now.
Did you honestly put several $100 into Hearthstone?
I think about 350, I'd say.
Wow.
Expansions are expensive.
I mean, I guess.
Like when I'd play with a league, and it was expected that you had like not a full collection, but enough cards and dust that you could make competitive decks to stay in the meta. Because you'd be running, you would be running 4 or 5 decks, and there would be bans. So you had to you couldn't just have 3 good decks, because one of your decks is going to suck, and it's probably not going to be the one that's going to get banned, unless you can bluff it. Unless everybody's running Shaman, and so you just you don't build a Shaman and you run everything else. But anyway, and not only that, but you had to know all the decks, and you were expected to play all of them so that you could understand how to beat them if you're going out the other way. But yeah, it was just, that's why I wanted to spend my money. So it's like the new expansion would come out, and you'd spend $50 to get the packs, and then you do that a couple of times, and I mean, now you're left with regret, and that's where Blizzard did it. They got my money. They got my money. So if I play on a private WoW server, I don't feel bad about it. But anyway, cool. Thanks. We're the Courtesy Flush. We do a lot of streams and such, and but yeah, we're leaving now. So here's the outro music.